Line unmuted.
Good evening. Welcome to the Mayor and City Council workshop for the City of Taneytown for the month of July. I will ask that Mayor Pro Tem Foster please lead us in the pledge to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Foster. I appreciate that. Let the records reflect that everyone is present and accounted for this evening. We will begin with review of the minutes for the June 3rd and June 8th, 2020 workshop and regular meetings. Is there any discussion, about the minutes as presented? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to the next. They'll be up for approval on Monday evening. I'll now ask the council if they have any conflicts of interest on any of the agenda items this evening.
No, sir.
No? Very good. Thank you. Then we will move right along into our resolutions, ordinances, and agreements. Up for discussion tonight and adoption on Monday is Resolution 2020-08. This is our water allocation for July of 2020. Is there any discussion on that this evening? Councilor Vigliotti, are you satisfied with the numbers tonight?
The numbers add up this evening, Mr. Mayor. Thank you very much for that.
Perfect. You can thank Mr. Wieprick for that. After that, we'll move into our city manager report. Mr. Wieprick, do you have anything for us this evening?
Sure, I'll run through some highlights. We did hold a meeting with the Sewell property owners with regard to their potential annexation. That was on June 12th, and we talked mostly about the city's ability to provide water and sewer capacity and being able to do that at the point where they would need to use that capacity. So we talked a bit about that and the possibility of a zoning waiver being required from the county because they are looking to have a denser residential level than is on the comprehensive plan. So moving from an R20 or an R20 designation to an R10 would increase the potential density for the property. So we would have to likely request a waiver from Carroll County for the 5-year zoning freeze. But it was a good discussion, and I think everybody's kind of on the same page at this point. So hopefully we will be able to continue making some progress on that over the coming months. The Roberts Mill Run O'Brien Bridge project is coming along very well. Curbing and gutter should go in this week, and paving will hopefully be done next week, and the road approaches will be done, and we will have an actual bridge across the stream there now. So the two halves of O'Brien will finally tie together. The pond area has been seeded and tacked with straw. So hopefully we'll get some rain and help that area get stabilized. And we are pretty much at the end of the hauling operation there as well. So, and related to that, the Memorial Park fill area that was using the dirt excavated from the pond, if you haven't been out to Memorial Park, it's worth taking a look, especially if you're familiar with how the 22 acres looked before this fill project. It is much more level now. It's going to provide a much better starting point for us to develop playing fields on that surface. And when we do move forward with the Trevanian Terrace project, which I'll give a little update on momentarily, we will have more fill going to the park to create an additional leveled area for future development. So that's coming along. That's worked out very nicely, that it saved money on the hauling costs for the stormwater project and also saved us from having to bring in fill to level those areas to be able to develop them going forward. So I just mentioned Trevanian Terrace, so I'll skip City Hall for right now and jump right into that. The county did receive final plans, but they still have a few more tweaks to go with them. We were hoping to be under construction in July, but the state has not been pressuring us because we do have some grant funding involved with this project. But because of the pandemic related delays and stuff, as long as progress is being made, we're seeing that they're being very accommodating. So far so good on that one. City Hall update. Construction is moving ahead. We did have a progress meeting this week, and the end date has been pushed back about 7 days from the originally planned date. So right now we're looking at substantial completion on August 11th. A lot of the additional work has been related to fire safety. So apparently what was acceptable 20 years ago when the building was renovated is no longer acceptable. So there's been a lot of patching of holes that were in the old plaster and drywall ceilings up above the drop ceiling that now have to be closed up for fire safety. That were, with the previous renovations, there were a lot of holes just basically knocked in the ceiling to run plumbing and wiring and cables and all sorts of things over the years, or perhaps with that renovation when that was done. So there's been some extra work in patching up a lot of those holes, and also a couple change orders related to fire safety, that now we also, where there are firewalls, we now also have to have fire rated dampers for all the HVAC equipment that penetrates those firewalls. So another change order and another little delay there. So all in all, to be, only a week farther back than originally expected, I think, considering what we've discovered once the ceilings came down and we started seeing what was behind the scenes, so to speak, I think we're doing very well with it. And the contractor's been very good to work with so far, and they've coordinated with me and our architect very well. So so far so good on that. So hopefully we will be back in the middle of August, and we're going to try to time the moving of the finance department in a way that will not happen right at their crunch time with regard to water billing. Some detail to work out there, but it's coming along very nicely. Not much really to add from last month on the COVID-19 issues. The lobby at the police department is open. We are requiring people to have face coverings to come into the lobby. So far, we have not had any particular issues down there, and we're having some conversations at the staff level right now about we're planning for when we do move everybody back into the building here for some virus-related protocols that we're going to enact to make sure that we keep everybody safe when we have more people back in the building. So that's about it for me. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
First question for you is, have you heard any complaints from residents regarding the seating over at the O'Brien Bridge?
We've had one person that complained that the straw that was sprayed got in their pool.
Right.
Yeah, we have been in touch with the county about that. I'm not sure at this point what recourse there is. It sounds as though the resident cleaned it out, but was concerned that it could potentially damage their pool filter or something. So
that's what the filter is for. But okay, I just want to make sure that they've spoken to someone in the city and that it's at least been discussed.
Yes.
Regarding the city hall renovations, what are the chances of us being able to reconvene in these council chambers for August?
Well, I don't think that we have the ability to be 6 feet apart from each other very easily in the council chambers.
Okay.
I would not count on that.
Okay.
We are probably not going to move the finance department until after August 11th. So that would be after our August 10th meeting.
Okay.
So I would not plan on that. If things go exceptionally well and we may be able to develop a plan to move some things around up there and free up a little more space. I'm not sure seating wise how we would place everyone to keep appropriate distance between individuals.
Okay.
Unless you want to, go with a mask protocol.
Right. All right. That's all I have. Anyone from council have additional questions? All right. Everyone is satisfied. Do you have any questions about the departmental reports while we're here? Councilor Vigliotti.
And Mayor, please forgive me if this would probably be better brought up under new business, but I just wanted to say that I know there's been some thought about whether or not we could live stream these meetings once we do begin meeting in person again. And I'd like to encourage that thought, because I've noticed since, even though we've been meeting remotely, the fact that we've been live streaming the meetings, I've had more people than before who have reached out to me about different things. They're saying that they've been paying attention now that these meetings are being live streamed. And so I think if there's a way that we can incorporate that into our in-person meetings in the future, I think that would probably serve us pretty well. And that's it.
I know there's been some discussion about that. I believe IT had purchased a camera that would make it easier for them to do that, with the intention of in the future doing so. Obviously now with the expectation, because we've been able to do it, I think we're going to have to continue doing that in the future, since obviously we've shown that we're able to, and it's probably best we continue with that. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilman. Anyone else have any questions on departmental reports? All right, with nothing additional, we'll move into our legal report. Mr. Gullo, what do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This past month has been spent not exclusively, but almost exclusively on getting the Taneytown crossing project, closer to the finish line. We have to give big thanks to Jim Weeprick and Brian Lubinal at CDM, because as we left it with MDE, that we had a call with the secretary himself, and he said he understands our situation, but unless we submitted a water and sewer master plan amendment, there was nothing they could do to assist us. And so within the space of less than 10 days, the city staff that was involved worked with the county staff, who was super cooperative as well, and they were able to get something drafted, and it went to MDE last week. So I think it was 3 days behind our anticipated schedule. MDE indicated that they are going to do an expedited review of that, and that means it's about 2 to 3 weeks, so they say. And that means that if they find it, and they haven't said this, but if they find everything is in order, that they may be able to let the Taneytown Crossing project move ahead. Remember, that was the goal where we started. So with that understanding, with MDE, we have pushed ahead on all the other things that had to happen, which is the public works agreement, stormwater management agreements, and bonding agreements, and things like that. And so that is all coming to a head and being processed right now. And the mayor is going to sign the deed that's going to transfer the lost or escaped parcels, remember we talked about that, to them, so that they can go ahead and record the plat. So it has been an effort. And I hope that at August meeting, we can tell you that it was all worth it and it got recorded and everything was great. So that's Taneytown Crossing. The other thing that happened this month, and I sent you a memo on it, but in the Davis matter, you know that Mr. Davis is the individual that ran his vehicle into the town hall and has caused the damage that we're all suffering through. And so as the court system started to open again, Mr. Davis had his status hearing, and at his status hearing, he offered a plea of guilty, and he pled guilty to first-degree assault, which is a felony, and malicious destruction of property. And based on that plea, the judge set some guidelines for sentencing, but there will be a sentencing hearing in September. At this point in time, it's scheduled for September 3rd. The reason why that's postponed is that they are not doing any sentencing at this point that would lead to incarceration until after they have in-person hearings in September. And so you can read between the lines that Mr. Davis is likely to be incarcerated for some period of time for the act of violence that he committed against the city. And to that end, just so we're clear, unless anybody has any objections, Remember, Councilman Vigliotti was the one that was going down to the courthouse with us when we first did our hearing on this almost over a year ago to express the city's position. And since he already has been in front of the judge and the state's attorney, I would like for him to be the one that gives the victim impact statement that's going to be required at the sentencing. And then we also have another employee, the one that was in the building at the time. He will be giving a separate victim impact statement, and I'll be working with both of them to prepare it. And then I'm working with several staff members who are not going to be giving statements, but we're going to get their issues together so that Councilman Vigliotti can present that as well. So unless there's an objection, that's the plan that I would have on behalf of the city. And then lastly, as we move into the virtual world, you know, you're doing your meetings this way. We've moved to planning commissions meetings this way, and we're going to step off into Board of Zoning Appeals hearings in the Zoom format or in the virtual format, if you will. That's the first one is going to happen at the end of this month. Those are a little trickier because those are quasi-judicial, meaning that they need to be adversarial and have the opportunity to cross-examine witnesses. So it's not quite just a meeting, but the staff is up to the challenge. Our IT department is ready to roll with all this. And so we'll see how these hearings go, and hopefully they'll be a success and we can continue the business of the city without interruption. And that's really all I have for you all.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Gullo. Are there any questions from the council for Mr. Gullo on his report? All right. Everyone is satisfied. Thank you. We shall move on. Bringing back old business, the essential employee leave policy. I believe everyone received this in their email from Mr. Wieprick. I'll give him a chance to discuss it, and then we'll discuss it as a council. Mr. Wieprick, the floor is yours. Are you muted?
Thank you.
No
Missed
problem.
the click there. Just to reiterate what was in the memo, that the amount of leave that individuals received was all across the place. It ranged from 4 to over 200 hours of administrative leave that folks were provided. And again, not at their request. It was the result of the pandemic and our wanting to split shifts and minimize contact, and of course adhere to the stay-at-home order while that was in place. So to recognize those folks that did, have to come in as essential personnel and work their full weeks and did not really benefit from any additional paid leave beyond what was typically earned. I think that the idea of a bonus is appropriate. As we talked about last month, we did kind of survey the other municipalities, and what's being proposed of a $1,200 bonus for those essential staff members is certainly within the range of what other municipalities are doing. Certainly, it's nowhere near as generous as what some larger entities are doing for their essential employees, but I think it would be a gesture that would be well received by the staff who did not benefit from any administrative leave. So I think I laid things out in the memo, but I'd be happy to field any questions or take any suggestions, recommendations.
All right. I will open it up to the floor. Is there any discussions regarding this from the council?
Mr. Mayor,
I would just like to thank you for putting this report together. You seem to have crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's, and it's a good report. Thanks.
Councilman Hale, did you have a question?
yes, sir. Thank you. Jim, again, like Diane said, fantastic job on that. With one minor change, you needed to be included in on the bonus as well. And appreciate you putting this together. It seems very fair. I like it.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I might.
Yes, Councilman, go ahead.
I am in complete agreement with both Mayor Pro Tem Foster and Councilman Hale. I think this is an excellent report. I do believe as well that we should extend some kind of compensation to our essential employees who were unable to take any kind of leave. And I also believe that Jim Weeprecht should be included in this as well. He as well was unable to take any time off, and I think it would certainly be within reason to offer him some kind of compensation as well.
Okay, noted. Anything else? Councilman Fuller, Councilman Haynes, anything?
And actually, Mayor, if I might, one more thing, if it's okay.
Councilman, go ahead.
So I know that we're considering the number of about $1,200. Would anybody be opposed to maybe increasing that to say about $1,300? Because I know taxes are going to eat away into this amount. So I was just wondering if maybe anybody would be comfortable with increasing the number from 1,200 to 1,300.
I think 1,200 is appropriate. It's in line with what other municipalities are doing. I don't think we need to go any higher than that personally. Does anyone from council have an opinion on that? Councilman Hale? Councilman Hale, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yes, sir, I do.
Okay.
I don't really have a huge problem with the 1,300, but the 12 seems to be adequate. The taxes on that's probably going to be 25% anyway. So, yeah, the $100 isn't sort of going to help too much.
Very good. Thank you. Councilman Haynes?
I was just going to echo what Councilman Hale said. I think 1,200 is a fine number. It comes at Mr. Weeprecht's recommendation, so I think it's sufficient.
Very good. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Foster?
Ditto.
Thank you very much. All right. With that, we will put this up for approval Monday evening. If you have any concerns between now and then, you may bring them up to myself or Mr. Weeprecht, okay? All right. Sounds great.
Oh, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Vignotti, go ahead.
I'm sorry about this. So with Mr. Weeprecht, would the compensation for him be the same as it would be for the others as well?
It would be the 1,200, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
All right. Moving into new business, we have our monthly financial report. Are there any comments or questions regarding the monthly financial report? No? Hearing none, we will move on to our accounts payables. Comments and or questions? General inquiries, concerns, debacles, nothing? Everyone is satisfied. Outstanding. Moving on to new business, Parks and Recreation sponsorships and donations. I requested that this be put on. In speaking to Lorena, who I believe has done a phenomenal job with Parks and Rec during her time here so far, she wanted some guidance and I guess permission to seek sponsorship and donations for the Parks and Rec program. As they're doing events, as they do more drive-in movies, to seek out sponsorship opportunities. I know previously, there was talk that they couldn't do such things. Of course, now we worked out that the police department were able to sell swag and then donate the money to the Small Business Relief Fund. So we're looking for kind of a similar idea for Parks and Rec to kind of help bolster their activities and support there. First, I want to throw it to Mr. Gullo to see from a legal standpoint if he sees any issues with this sort of arrangement.
I don't think there's any issues on the general idea. Obviously, all the details are what matter of how we actually do it. We've talked about different vehicles to raise money and account for it separately from the city. And that's a couple steps away from where we are right now. That would probably be ideal eventually, because then it doesn't go through the city's books, the city's accountability and things like that. But in general, we have no problem with the idea.
Very good. Mr. Weeprick, do you have anything from the acting city manager hat?
We have had some discussion, including our treasurer, Barry, and it does not sound like from the financial end we have any real issues, just some administrative stuff we need to address to track it properly.
Okay, so with that, I'll kind of throw it to the council. Do you see any issues with allowing our Parks and Rec department to seek donations and sponsorships for the events that they're putting on? No?
Mr. Mayor, my only question would be, is this a policy that we would have to vote into being, or is this just something that we all consent to and it's good?
I think essentially we'll just be giving direction to staff. We could even do it by consensus Monday night. I don't think it's going to be anything codified or even an official policy. It's just kind of the council giving the blessing to move forward with this. So if everyone's good with that, then we'll bring it up again Monday night and we'll just seek a consensus, giving them direction to proceed. Sound great?
Thank you very much.
Very good. I love it. Any additional business this evening? I feel like we kind of flew through this pretty quickly, so nothing additional. Very good. Just for everyone watching from out there, I know we typically do our reports Monday night. I do just want to give a heads up to everybody that last week, myself, members of council, and even some members of staff participated in the MML virtual summer conference. We weren't able to make our annual pilgrimage to Ocean City to enjoy it in person, but they pulled off a great event virtually, able to attend a lot of seminars over the computer, some neat networking opportunities, and it was a lot of fun. So we were able to still get a lot of the same knowledge, but do it from the comfort of wherever we had our computers. Just kind of want to throw it out there that we were still able to take advantage of that, and I think it was a good program for everybody. With that, I will seek a motion to adjourn this evening. And do I have a second?
Second.
All right, I have Councilman Haynes with the motion, Mayor Pro Tem Foster with the second. All in favor signify with your thumbs up. All right, it is unanimous to adjourn. Thank you all. Have a great evening.